Hey everyone, and welcome to the Health Stories podcast by SPAN. I'm Patrick, the CEO and co-founder of the company, and in this series, we want to explore the intersection of health span and lifespan through community stories and conversations with doctors and nutritionists. For this first episode, I wanted to introduce you to my amazing team. So with me I have Rachel, our nutritionist, trained chef and cancer survivor, and Adam, our medical officer, medical doctor with the NHS who work with thousands of diabetic patients. So thanks for coming on this bank holiday. I think it's... How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
good. Sun is shining. Can't
It's a
complain.
sunny day, yeah. So I guess something we haven't done as a team, which is a good team building exercise at the same time, is figure out what led us to this place right now.
Yeah.
And I figured the easiest way is probably to start at the beginning. So when we were kids, what led you guys to work in healthcare? And that's obviously a good segue into telling your story and explaining how you got there. But
absolutely.
I mean, for me, I think I went into medicine without really having any plan. I just kind of got into medical school. I liked biology as a kid, but then the only thing that interested me in medical school was aging, understanding aging.
Right away from the.
So that was the only thing that I could, that I didn't feel burdened by studying. Okay. So everything else was just a chore, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it took me a while to realize that maybe that's why I went into medicine. Maybe that's the only interest in medicine I have. Everything else was just a chore. Was just things to do to get me to to pass the next semester.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about why? And because obviously longevity is quite different and it's less about solving the problems. It's also a big challenge compared to what you study. And I guess
it's totally different, and it's probably as you said, it's more of an engineering problem than related to medicine, at least how medicine is now. But I don't know, maybe there's some kind of philosophical argument that you can make that I've always been afraid of death, and it kind of maybe there is some of that, yeah.
But it's obviously something that we're all not concerned about, but we think, and it's not something that's often mentioned in the media or social media, just between friends and people you may know. So talking about death, what that implies, it's a very personal thing, and but the way it affects your decisions is definitely big. It has a big impact on your life.
I mean, I don't know, Rachel, you probably have more insight on this than I do.
Yeah.
What do you think?
In a sense of what?
Facing death and thinking about it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you actually asked that, because for me, I'm the kind of person where I don't kind of see myself I don't see myself as an older person, so I don't kind of project. But that's not saying that I feel like I'm going to die young, and I know this is kind of a funny thing. Okay. But I think for me, it's just kind of letting life happen and not kind of fearing death. That's an interesting thing you said.
But how did you come to that?
I don't think I've ever feared. I don't think I've ever feared death, because I guess maybe from a young age, even though I was very good at not thinking that death is a possibility, I guess maybe in the back of my mind it was always something that it could happen.
That's the total opposite for me. For me, I've always had death as really something lurking in. For some reason, I haven't been exposed to that much death in my family or anything like that. It was just something that I've always been obsessed with for some reason, philosophically and scientifically.
And it's funny because you're so right, people don't talk about it until like not even till the last moments of someone dying, and like people don't want to even discuss, their funeral or anything like this. It's just a really not taboo thing, but like people don't want to. Yeah, you're right. It's personal.
But it's still like in some disciplines like philosophy, it's something that people go often into, and that's the one thing that they try to explain, and that ties to how you should live your life. And obviously, then
there's also this notion of, or like this whole idea of how death is like just one event that happens at the end of your life, but it's actually a process. Like it's actually a long process of aging, and decaying, and eventually dying. And that's, I think, where like your health span is a better kind of target than your lifespan.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I think that's the one thing that's fascinating about studying longevity and looking at, obviously, first health span and chronic condition and how that may affect it, and then actually go into proper aging and how you can solve that. That's fascinating. So I guess, like, for you, how did you get into healthcare? Was it linked to your condition at all, or did you know before?
It's a mixture of like. So I grew up on a farm, so I was always connected with like food and home cooked food and things like that. So I got into like cooking from a really young age, and then I guess when I got sick, I was 10, and during my illness, I probably cooked more as well, and because it's finding things that you want to eat, and it was, you're away from school, but you want to do things, so I was cooking a lot more. But I think then, as I got older, it was kind of trying to find a reason for why I got ill and trying to improve my health through nutrition. So I definitely think combining my passion for food from being on a farm and then also getting ill definitely brought me to studying nutrition. And
probably also pushing you in a within nutrition in a specific direction.
I mean, well, it was not until I relapsed the last time, which was like 3 years ago. Now that's when I really started to explore, and it was in lectures or whatever in university, they'd introduce these ideas of low carbohydrate diets being beneficial, but it wasn't until afterwards, when I was now faced with something, that I really started to explore it. And it's not really spoken about very much actually in university.
In school, I often hear something like in medical school, they say you have like one module, which is a couple of hours.
Even less than that, and it's not even a module that is taking that seriously. It's like you have, a few modules that talk about like lifestyle changes or nutrition, but they're kind of like adjuncts, and people just you do the minimum effort just to go through those modules because you're too focused on the hard stuff. So I think by the end of medical school, no one even remembers these things.
So what was your first encounter where you with ketogenics, low carb, how that ties into aging, and the first moment in your life? When was that, and how did that happen? Did you start looking into it right away, or?
I think for me it was through learning about aging and through learning about the genetic pathways, specifically the IGF pathways, insulin pathways, where I started looking at trials that were trying to activate these pathways, and most of the trials were low carb, high fat, or severe calorie restriction. And then I got introduced to a ketogenic or low carb diet. I think that's how I got introduced to it.
Makes sense.
For me, I remember one lecturer. He was great. He just came, and he was then. It was a cardiovascular lecture, and he was saying about low carb or higher carbohydrate diets actually being, possibly the cause for the use of statins, and actually, high fat diets aren't to be blamed at all. And this turned everything on its head for me, and because up until that point, that's not what we were told, so that totally changed things.
Yeah, up until that point, you think of we just thought of well, for me at least, it was mostly thinking about your food intake as a number of calories that you have to hit every day, and it doesn't really
saturated
matter.
Fat, and this was my last year that this then came up. So I had spent so long, and then it was when, and then when I got diagnosed again, that's when I really delved into it and researched
that's fascinating, because we've all been told the same thing, and I think, I don't know why, but it sounds like it's a time where people start to care a bit more about their health outside of what the doctor is saying, because they know some of the other things that are not considered as medical, like nutrition, can have an impact. So they're curious, they want to experiment. There's obviously a concern around, should you eat organic, should you eat normal food? So that's kind of pushing people to kind of learn a bit more, and maybe that's how to get into the deep core science of low carb.
I still don't understand why it's such a contentious kind of topic. There's something about food. That makes us really tribal, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely like a thing, something linked to evolution, and
I mean, you see different religions that have different dietary restrictions. I mean, it's always been part of us. It's always been a way of groups differentiating each other.
Identifying,
it's fascinating how in most religions you have some form of fasting, calorie restriction.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yes, so true.
There's a lot of cultural elements that at least were there in the past. Now I know it's changing a lot, and even Okinawa, who is the population known for living a long time, now they're completely changing. They don't have the same diet, so they're not expecting to see the same numbers in 20, 30 years.
And how did you when was your discovery of it?
My discovery was from previous patient of my first company. So I think the guy was a lawyer in the US, and he contacted us because he was doing keto. He was looking for a way to measure blood pressure, different things, but he didn't want to have the cuff, the wristband, the Fitbit, and everything at the same time. So he was looking for one device that would actually measure a bunch of things that he could use only once a day. That's the kind of thing that we wanted to build at the time. So we reached out. We had a quick conversation, and then I think I had heard about low carb, keto, fasting before, but that conversation was the trigger, and I started looking into it. But before, I was looking at cancer research and everything without having I didn't have any link between the two, so I didn't really know that they were connected, or there was a science behind that was interesting. And then I dived into it. Started with fasting, did it myself, but also looked at the science. I think at the same time, a few papers came out following the Nobel Prize of Medicine in 2016. So it was a hot subject, and I started reading everything on the subject in 6 months. Really interesting. I actually met Adam fairly quickly after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so that was kind of around the time then that you got your results, your results
for pre-diabetes.
Pre-diabetes,
I had been diagnosed a year before that. Actually, but I mean, at the time I was like everyone else. The consensus is just that it's probably genetic. I could cut sugar, so I cut sugar. I didn't really reduce my carbs, but instead of eating pastries in the morning, I would have this massive bowl of canola, yogurt, and fruits.
Okay.
Which is for my profile, it's probably fairly bad. So my HbA1c was actually increasing. Not that much. I think it was still fairly resistant, but very much increasing
gosh.
every 6
That's
months.
the thing you see with loads of people is that they think they're eating healthy and they're like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Like maybe it's just genetic. Maybe I'm just built this way. I mean, there is a genetic
link to it.
obviously, but I mean, it's also about like just knowing what to eat and having the right information there. And there's just so much wrong information out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, who can blame them with advertising and, showing people eating granola and being really happy and healthy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we are facing in some ways. It's a massive culture change for many countries, and that's it's quite difficult. But also, it's the right moment because there's like this minority of people who have diabetes who are just interested in their health, who experimented, figured out that this way of life was working for them. So they made a movement, and now it's growing. Still the minority, but you can feel the traction.
Yeah.
Literally on Google Trends, if you type keto, it's growing so fast.
It is,
yeah. Then, to be honest, like on the other side, the vegan movement is also growing pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
hugely. Yeah. We just need to get some keto restaurant outlets and cafes like vegan has now.
You can have like a small cave side dishes on menus.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
It's not too far. In Lisbon last year, we had the paleo kitchen.
Yeah.
I think paleo might be maybe a bit more known.
Yeah, I think
keto,
so.
I don't know, or more extreme, maybe. That's why they need their own restaurant.
Actually, that's something I kind of forgot about that, but that's something I tried in university. It was paleo, but mostly it wasn't so much for like low sugar or anything like that. It was just more, it just made sense to me. It's like, well,
it does make sense. I mean, it is kind of getting at the same kind of thing. Like trying to eat natural food.
And like
that's what I mean. At the end of the day, that's what a low carb diet is. It's natural food.
And actually, if you don't have any like insulin resistance, the best strategy might actually be paleo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
long term. But one of the things that's pretty interesting is it seems like for a long time, like for the past 150 years after the food revolution, industrial revolution of food, we've had like all these products come in the market and everything was basically driven by the food industry. But now I think that change is happening because people are more conscious. There's a culture change around that, but also we're getting more data from the medical industry, which is growing. We have like Fitbits, and I'm sure we're going to have like the equivalent of the Fitbit in 15 years, measuring our blood glucose every day. And all this data is kind of driving the change in the other way now. So it's almost like the medical industry will make all the decisions about what we eat. So there's a power shift between the food industry and the medical industry.
Yeah, I mean, but that also goes into like how accurate is the medical data and the medical consensus anyway. Like major studies that have shifted, like the government recommendations were like the China study and these kind of big studies that are quite flawed scientifically, but they're still like branded as medical and scientific advice.
The bias in medical research in general is something very difficult to overcome and probably a very interesting challenge as well. But
especially with nutrition, because most big studies are backed by people with agendas.
Hugely.
I think that's why when the price of data collection in like every way possible, blood tests and everything at home goes down and the accuracy goes up at the same time, we'll probably hit that threshold where we start to have really, really good data at scale, and then the game changes because nutrition studies cannot be flawed anymore. We're kind of collecting not all the parameters that could affect the outcomes, but most of the important ones. at least the ones that we're discussing today, like cholesterol and
Yeah.
all this stuff. So I think that's probably something interesting for the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your diet like today? I feel
Like right now,
this
today?
is the core of the beast. We talked about all of this. We've probably all experimented with a bunch of stuff, but today we have one thing,
Yeah.
one type of experiment we're running.
I'm less, I think, strict with myself than I was when I began, in that I have things like wine, I have dairy, I have nuts and things like that.
Yeah.
Experimenting more with, which I went away from, is intermittent fasting, actually. So
Okay.
I brought that back in, and actually rediscovering how much I love it. And it's funny how I kind of forgot about it. I stopped because I was going on holidays, and then it's just it really enriches your life, and it's been great to like take that on again.
Yeah, I definitely do that. I mean, I probably do intermittent fasting. I'm at a place now where I'm comfortable doing intermittent fasting every day.
Yeah.
And I also probably do low carb, not ketogenic. That's probably what I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've stopped having the craving though for like sweet things.
Yeah.
Chocolate and crisps and all these things. I used to struggle with that. I used to love like having snacks, sweet snacks and whatever, but I don't have that anymore.
Same here.
Yeah.
I'm actually impressed like how many calories I was consuming were completely useless for me.
Yeah.
There was no point.
I remember finding it so surprising where you no longer crave sweet things, but you actually crave like real things like broccoli and like all these like real foods, and it's obviously just your body saying like, I need this, give it to me,
it's also like the complexity of taste, and I think that's one of the things that I found very interesting. A lot of people say, oh yeah, I can never stop eating that because I love that so much. Maybe sugar, maybe. And actually your palate will probably change in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally, like in 2 weeks, you forget you needed that. You start enjoying something more.
I would have never thought I would be able to function without breakfast. Like breakfast was my most important thing, most important meal of the day. And I would be like, I would have 5 meals a day. Like I would have like 5 moderate to small meals a day. That was my diet. Now I have probably 2 main meals a day, lunch and then dinner when I get home. That's it. And I don't really snack. But it's changed. Now I feel focused in the morning. I don't need I don't even drink coffee. I drink tea like at lunch, but in the morning I don't even drink anything. I just go to work, and I probably have my first meal at 1 or 2 o'clock.
Were you training also before?
What do you mean?
Like lifting weights and stuff? Yeah. So did you see change before and after? Like
sometimes I go. No, I didn't actually. So sometimes I go to the gym after like a 16-hour fast, and I actually don't feel any difference.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just psychological, but I don't.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably that you're in a state where you can use fat efficiently at the time. I know I wasn't in that situation. So when I first started intermittent fasting, I was playing tennis every week, twice a week. And the first week, I felt really, really weak in less than 30 minutes. It was really hard to keep on playing. And after a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, I felt amazing. It was the complete opposite.
At first I did feel it. No, that's right. Yeah, especially with cardio. Like with lifting weights, I would probably also struggle with lifting like the same weights as I did.
Oh yeah.
But running, I would definitely. It was a bit harder at first.
There's definitely that adaptation phase.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So you're also doing intermittent fasting now, but also you started a ketogenic diet a while ago.
Yeah.
And did you feel that transition at the beginning?
I did. Although I wasn't, before I changed, I didn't have a great appetite anyway, because I was like anxiety and things like that, so I wasn't wanting to eat. So actually I think I was probably in a state of ketosis before this anyway, because I wasn't really eating. And so, but equally, when I did start the ketogenic diet, I did have that transition of like awful headache, just feeling really tired. It didn't last too long, luckily. I didn't prepare myself as well, which was a bad idea. So I didn't hydrate or, take electrolytes, which I would definitely do if I was to do that again. But it was very temporary, and then very quickly I could see how well I felt on it. And that was the driving point for me. I started off initially saying, I'll do this for a month, see how I feel. But, straight away I was like, no, I want to continue this.
Yeah.
So it was an easy decision.
Yeah. So easy on the personal point of view. But then how did your doctor, nutritionist, any medical professional that knew your situation reacted?
Yeah, I was... I was not the best in they knew what I was doing, and they kind of said, okay, go ahead, but we'll keep a kind of a close eye on you. If there's any time that we feel, you should be doing this, we will say. But I think they could see that I was doing so well, but they weren't in the position to say, keep doing it, because that would go against what they're supposed to tell people is, eat lots of calories and eat whenever you're hungry and don't fast. Fasting was a big thing, which I tried during my treatment, and some of the nurses really were not impressed by it.
But they also probably didn't hear about fasting and keto.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think so. But they, thought it was really counterintuitive, which I understand where they're coming from, because a lot of patients are losing a lot of weight, and they need calories. So for them, it's so important to get as many calories in as possible. If it's cake, sugar, whatever it is. And so to say that I was fasting is, they just think it's really silly that you should eat whenever you can. But I think I proved it worked really well in the end. So
that's amazing.
One
of my customers, my first customer, my previous company, literally paid online £150 to get access to our beta device.
Yeah.
He was a British guy, quite wealthy. I don't know where from, probably investments. And he had, when he contacted us, he was in remission of cancer, prostate, for 5 years. And he told us his story. So basically, he was diagnosed and was told that he had 7 or 8 months to live.
Yeah.
He had a lot of money, so he went to find the best doctors on Harley Street, nutritionist, sports coach, and he did everything. But they actually did it in a pretty scientific way. So he was doing biopsies to kind of measure the size of the tumor, the activity, and everything very frequently.
Yeah.
And his main thing was eating paleo and losing a lot of weight by just being very active physically.
Yeah.
Walking every day, at least running a couple of times a week, and then also like some high intensity exercise.
Yeah.
And he started something called the London Sports Clinic, I think, on Harley Street. It's like working with... it's like halfway between a gym and a practice, basically, and trying to help more patients do that.
Yeah.
So I found it fascinating, and he was I mean, at the time I didn't know about keto and all the implications and why maybe there was like a scientific explanation or.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things that led me to explore.
Yeah.
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 How about you, Adam? What do you feel is obviously you're a doctor, so it's different. But do you feel your GP, if he knows you're doing a ketogenic diet, is open to it?
I'm probably a really bad patient, so I don't really engage with my GP. I probably only see my GP once just to ask him for a prescription.
If you're young and healthy, that's probably...
but that's the case with most people. But I do deal with a lot of doctors on day to day. And most doctors seriously don't consider nutrition as something that is important when treating disease. But there's a caveat there, because this is when we're talking, like most diseases that I deal with in the hospital are serious illnesses that cannot be reversed by nutrition. Nutrition is more for long-term kind of management of diseases, and for that we always have this caveat where we say in medicine, like the first line of treatment should be lifestyle modifications and nutrition, and then we go to prescribing medications and stuff like that. But it's kind of this thing where we pay lip service to it, where we don't really actually like focus on it that much. So people say, like, so if you could go to your GP and say you have this problem, he might say, you need to do this and that, or give you like some vague advice on the lifestyle modification, or put you in some kind of in contact with some kind of education program. But and then you go and then you come back, and if it hasn't worked, they just move on to pills and medications. So they don't really personalize it, don't really take it that seriously. And I think that's changing. From a consumer perspective or from a patient perspective. Patients are demanding that, no, I really want to solve this with nutrition, with lifestyle changes first, before I go on to the next stage.
Yeah, we actually have a number of patients that come to us from this point of view. They say, I've not been put on medication, but I've been told I need to change my lifestyle. This is the roughly the advice I was given, but I need help.
And I think, though, as well, a lot of people know that, they need to kind of change something in their lifestyle. But it's just finding that support in how you do it. Or maybe they, as well, just need kind of that reminder from a doctor saying, you need to change this and that. But, like, in navigating through everything that's out there, it's going to be so difficult for anyone to take action with it.
I think there's really two parts to what we're doing. There's the education part where it's like really structured education. So step by step, we kind of teach you what you should know as a patient. So it doesn't go like as far as what the doctor would know about the subject, but you know enough so you can actually control it, and you understand also why you're doing like this strategy or this one instead. And the other part is really just creating accountability, having a coach, doctor, nutritionist, someone you can talk to, even if you don't have like fixed goals and everything, but you can just talk to that person. You know that you've kind of agreed that you're going to be in remission after a year, so you want to do good, and that's forcing you to actually do good and follow your program. Just having that, Cool. I think more generic question maybe. What do you feel what you wish you had known when you started? When you started, either when you were younger or in the medical field?
It's like started the ketogenic diet, or started your I wish I'd known. I wish I knew it like years ago. How good it was going to be, in the sense of, I guess, reflecting on like years past, I now understand what it feels like to be healthy, whereas I thought I was healthy, but I now know I wasn't. I know what it feels like to as we were saying earlier, have a normal cold and not have a cold that just takes weeks to get over, and that you have the power to change that, improve your immunity through.
That's very interesting. I mean, to me, I don't know if you felt the same. Like, do you feel like you get less colds, the flu?
I do, but I also work in a hospital, so
it's a good exercise.
It's hard to stay away from every strain of flu there is. But I actually have to say, like, for the last 2 years, I've definitely gotten less sick.
It's actually interesting because if you can prove that, it's a pretty good strategy for doctors. You want them to be like very resistant to all that stuff.
Could be a program specific for doctors.
They just did a program in a research in the US on the military, and they wanted to basically keep soldiers that are not on service healthy and fit, and they basically tried a bunch of interventions, and it turns out that the keto version was the more efficient. So they kept training and everything.
I mean, trying it myself is what made me really believe that there's something there. I'm usually skeptical when it comes to these kind of things, but it was probably trying it out myself, and like, I love food and I love eating, and I haven't lost that, and you can still love food and you can still eat as much as you want, or like until you're full, and be healthy. Like, they're not two antonyms, and that's, I think, what most people don't get. That's probably the thing that I would have liked to have known earlier. It's like, you can still like food and you can still eat good food.
Same,
and be healthy.
Yeah, like you said, to me it was
a lot of people always say, like, why is everything that is good for you, or that tastes so good, bad for you? Right?
I know,
it's actually not true. It's not true.
It's actually the opposite in a sense now, looking back.
Exactly. Because you feel like it's also like if you've been eating the same stuff since you were a kid, basically. You're used to that stuff, and you don't think you can change that in 2 weeks. That flexibility of, discovering new tastes and enjoying that. That's quite interesting. I feel like a lot of our patients that are high intent, so they want to change very quickly, they get into that spirit of saying, I know, like, I trust these guys, I can see the nice recipes, it looks like comfort food, so I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna, like, they seem to love food as well, so
that's the thing. Comfort food doesn't have to be bad food. Like,
absolutely.
Exactly. I think that's the one thing that maybe was definitely driven by the food industry in the last 30 years.
Absolutely.
McDonald's and everyone, like, and even them, they're having like quite a lot of problems. Like, do you guys know Gigi Hadid? The model. She posted a picture at Coachella last week with a McDonald's thing she was promoting. I think she got so many bad press.
Wow.
On Instagram, like, actually people commenting and saying, why do you promote this brand?
Well, I mean, come to think of it, I went to McDonald's probably a few weeks ago, and I devised my own McDonald's keto friendly
really?
Wow.
meal. I don't know if it was keto, but it was definitely low carb. It was like a big tasty with no buns. Right?
Can you do that at McDonald's?
Yeah, you can ask without the buns, right? Obviously no fries or Coke, but I had as well a side of I think it was a Caesar salad with no dressing.
Okay,
so
you got
and with extra bacon. So it actually worked out. Yeah, there was loads of meat and bacon there, a bit of salad, and I think it worked.
Nice.
So that's your cheat meal, after a night out or something, and you want your fix of McDonald's.
Cheap and also maybe cheap, because I know that's a point that comes back often with the patients. Like, I feel I can do this, in terms of the food and everything, but it sounds very expensive.
Yeah.
But in the end, there's always a lot of ways to make it cheap again.
Absolutely, yeah. You find, I mean, you're not going to be overeating as much as well. So, and if you incorporate intermittent fasting, and you're going to be saving lots of money.
Definitely, that's something I love about it.
Yeah.
It's satiating to the point where you don't really eat that much. But I think, but you don't feel like you're not eating that much. If you eat like a carb-rich meal, 2 hours, 3 hours later, you're hungry again. But if you eat like a steak, that's it. That's your fix for like 6 hours. You're good. You don't really feel the need to eat more.
Yeah.
So what are you curious about right now in this field? Like one thing that you've heard about that goes further into longevity, keto, or that you're curious about and you're interested in learning about?
So I'm personally, I mean, I'm all for strategies and lifestyle strategies that increase your health span and lifespan. But we will reach a point sometime where we know all the strategies and we're going to hit a point where it no longer helps. So I'm interested in what goes beyond that. I'm interested in actual like pharmacological interventions that will increase our lifespan and increase it and activate longevity pathways in a actual pharmacological way. That's an area that interests me, and there's loads of research going into it at the moment.
Yeah,
it's still niche, but I mean, I think this will change medicine in the next 20 years.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see that transition, and also. I was like, I keep thinking about it. Maybe for us, in a couple of years, let's say SPAN is successful, helping a lot of people doing a lifestyle modification for different diseases. The one thing that might disrupt that is if we come up with a drug that actually is re-engineering your body in some way, basically.
I'm not against that. I'm not against that. It is. There's loads of caveats to that. It has to be proven safe and whatever. Yeah. But I think that's the next step.
Yeah. Going further.
Yeah. I'm actually I'm interested actually to see. So we know how well we are with ketogenic diet and the studies that have gone on to show its remarkable results in different diseases and areas. But I guess the question is how sustainable is it going to be for lifelong? And this is a question that I often ask myself as I really love this. I love how I feel, but I do wonder, long term, is this something that I can sustain? Not sustain personally because I feel I can, but I don't know. Who knows?
I think that makes complete sense, and a lot of people. Doctors like Peter Attia have different strategies and advise different things, but they seem to always go back to that idea of cycling carbs. But always obviously quality complex carbs, not processed bread or things like that. And so it doesn't mean it's the right way.
There is this idea of hormesis, which is gaining from. So hormesis means gaining strength from small doses of harmful substances that are separated in time. So it may be good for you to go off a good diet for short periods every few months, for example. Just as it's good for you to fast for short periods, go for a 3-day fast or something like that every few months. It might be the inverse might be true.
True, yeah.
I often think about people who smoke. Obviously, in France, a lot of people smoke, and a lot of them are actually very skinny, and I can see that with my friends and my brother as well. They tend to fast most of the day. So they don't have meals, or they have a very light thing. They don't eat, obviously they eat bad food in general.
Dessert, sweet things as well, because their cigarette is almost a substitute
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. But they seem like, at least when they're young, they seem to be pretty healthy. So they don't have all these like colds and flu and everything. So I'm thinking maybe that actually like cigarettes is kind of a way to cut hunger, and so you're
But
being
you're substituting of something that's probably worse than a bad diet.
Maybe you're mitigating the effects of the cigarette because you're in ketosis.
Yeah. No, what I meant
That's
like
really
is something like,
interesting,
so there's a study that shows that radiologists are less prone to developing cancer, although they get more exposure to radiation. So maybe that's your body kind of adapting to radiation, so you get less. So it's more protected against like background radiation that we all get.
Which is obviously it's also.
So maybe smoking once a month is good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's the
optimum kind of
strategy. And the reason why people think cycling carbs might be the thing that works. There's also this idea that you're promoting IGF-1 and growth when you're in that state consuming glucose.
Yeah.
And you're more recycling senescent cells and things like that when you're on ketosis. And where is the right balance? And there's obviously a lot of, we know like the pathways at the surface and the ones that we need to learn for cancer, from like pharmaceutical interventions. But there's probably a lot of pathways that we haven't explored that are could be good or bad on both sides. So maybe actually being ketosis all the time, we lose some of the benefits of promoting IGF-1 and
could be.
Or it could be that just raising insulin when you eat gets us in that state for a short period of time and then we cycle again.
Exactly. It's just that short period of stress and those kind of things which are actually can be helpful.
I think there's a few things like that I'm expecting, and then probably one thing that I'm curious about. So I'd like to see some research on cholesterol, but like ApoB particle, LDLP particles, and all of that to like first shine some light on the pathways, and then probably when we have a better idea of like where there could be a causal relationship, actually do a randomized controlled trial.
Yeah, I mean there are loads of trials that are going on.
It's moving,
it's a big topic now. It'll definitely be clearer soon.
In a couple of years, And then I think the one thing that I'm really curious about is something a bit different. It's gut health, obviously. And I'm curious if it's a trend or if there's actually something there that. So it's definitely interesting to research and to understand, but in terms of actually using that in your lifestyle modification, how much can you actually affect your gut health?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of people who say like 80% is actually of the bacteria is actually fixed.
Yeah.
So even if you're drinking kombucha and having cheese and so on, there's only so much you can change.
Yeah, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't feel like something that is like super important. But I haven't really done my homework, so I can't really say. But it is interesting.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the fields where we need data.
Yeah.
And the current way of like collecting and doing the tests is almost as annoying as a blood test. So you have to go somewhere, or you have to collect a sample, you have to send it, you have to get the results.
It's not even, I don't even know if there's anywhere, because I think they send the samples to America presently.
It might be, yeah. I know one company advertising on Facebook called Atlas.
Okay, are they UK?
They're based in the UK and they send you your test here, but they might actually send it to a lab in the US. I don't know.
Yeah, and it takes weeks and weeks. I did one with Tim Spector.
Oh yeah.
And it was good. But it would be interesting to see now if my, the changes of microbiome and...
Yeah, that's the one thing that...
Yeah.
It seems crazy to me that we still don't have a way today to do the same thing with your blood tests.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to do like to go to the lab and get a vial of blood every day or every month just to get that trend. But it seems crazy to me that we have the technology, but it seems really, really difficult to bring into market.
What?
Like like efficient blood tests at home in some ways. At least for things that we all care about, glucose, HbA1c, cholesterol, things like that. Vitamin D would be interesting for me, I guess. I'd be curious to actually experiment with different things. I know I've tried. So we have Verta here. Thriver. So I did the blood test first with them 2 years ago, and then I started doing it every 3 months and I stopped probably 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting to see the change, to be able to... so my vitamin D level was really low. I tried vitamins, didn't work at all. And then I forced myself to actually spend some time outside, 10 minutes a day, for 6 months, and I saw the difference. And it was still winter. So I think even during the winter, that's something I should do more. At the office, just go out for 10 minutes, spend some time outside. And then maybe the vitamins could have had an effect with the exposure to real UV light, and it's a different thing. And then also, obviously, there's a lot of brands of vitamins, and maybe not all of them are efficient or have the same, like conserve the right amount of the agent in the box. So sometimes you buy them from Amazon and they've been sitting in the shelves for
exactly. I often have the same query about probiotics. That I wonder, are they actually just dying in my stomach acid? Are they actually still alive when they're in the capsule, and if they're actually effective? But even if they're not, I feel they have a placebo effect, so I'll spend some money on them.
Yeah, that's fascinating as well. In France, we had a brand of yogurt that started 15 years ago, so pretty early for this trend. From Danone, and it was like a green one. It's here now. It's Activia.
Oh yeah.
It was called Bio at the time. And it was like the first form of probiotics, and I think 7 or 8 years after the launch, some researchers actually started looking at what's actually in the yogurt when you buy it in the supermarket. It was completely inactive.
Oh yeah.
By the time it got there.
So many of them are. I only discovered this a few years ago when Dad was making yogurt at home, and he was buying these different yogurts, and like none of them worked except for one make new yogurt. So that just shows that they were all dead, despite them saying live yogurt on the packaging. So the only real way to know is just make some yogurt yourself, and you'll see if it's live or not.
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah.
It's like for the regulations in the food industry, it's quite difficult to test this kind of things because it costs so much money to take a sample of an apple, send it to a lab and do the test and everything. It's also one of the fields where they're trying to build spectrometers where you shine light on the objects, you kind of measure the chemical components. And there's this company in Israel that came up with a portable version, which is literally like a stick like this. You just point it at the apple, and it gives you a fairly accurate sample.
No way.
Compared to what you do in the lab. It's not the perfect way, but it's kind of the first step to make the technology better. And it's, so essentially just a miniature version of the same big equipment that they use in the lab. And the same technology, the guy who was heading the Apple division, working on blood tests, blood measurements. I don't know if it was the Apple Watch or anything. Specialized in spectrometry as well. Developed a blood test device, a little bit like Theranos, but actually a version that actually works and only does one thing, not 100 things in a box that costs almost millions of dollars. And they brought it to market. I think they're probably launching, like they launched 3 years ago on Indiegogo, but now I think the product is actually going out.
Yeah, my only contention with that as a clinician is like blood tests are supposed to guide your the clinical picture. So the problem with blood tests, consumer blood tests, is that you have loads of noise and people don't understand, or most people don't know how to deal with noise.
Yeah.
So they see it positive or below, above a certain range, and they fixate on that. So it'll just lead to more people being anxious, more people presenting to healthcare services with false positives. Yeah. That's where I think the problem is. So that's why I'm not really a huge advocate of like a routine blood tests to be done like routinely with people at home. I think it'll just increase the noise. Like in practice, you always you never want to order a test unless you're expecting a result, or you want to you don't screen for things unless you have something in mind.
Yeah,
you don't just do like a bunch of blood tests and throw a fishnet and see what you catch.
It's kind of finding that happy medium, because anyone who is going to go and monitor their health to that degree are probably going to be anxious about their health, and
that's like Googling your symptoms. You always the worst.
Exactly, but then if it means that you are monitoring and you can see all these changes, then that's
it depends on the biomarker, obviously.
I think that's an important factor. So if you can do blood tests at home, but there's so much hassle in the process that you can only do one a month, then it's probably going to be a problem. If you can see the trend, you're less likely to be fixated on the absolute value and think about, that's out of range or something like that. If you can see the trend, you don't even have to go to the doctors. You kind of know. Your doctor told you before your cholesterol is high, it's still going up. So you probably can do something else.
Yeah, and it absolutely depends on.
But it should be
the biomarker. So like glucose, cholesterol, these kind of things are kind of well understood by people.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things where the regulatory bodies should bring clarity. So it's like consumer devices, good, helps the consumer. But maybe we should make clinical decisions, or like bring that data back to the clinician now, until we can actually say, that device is so accurate that we use the same in a GP practice.
Yeah.
So, and for now, we haven't reached that level. But it's interesting to me that this device is literally, you have this cartridge, you press it on your arm, put it back in the device, you go away, and the device is connected to your Wi-Fi, does a bunch of things, and then gives you the...
Gosh, that's amazing.
They do glucose, cholesterol, LDL, and HDL. I think they're trying to do a bunch of things. They advertised a lot of things on the Indiegogo campaign. They were supposed to ship 1 year after. They have 500 backers. They've not shipped, and it's been 3 years. So it's also very difficult to bring to market. And I think... obviously the FDA has been more responsive and willing to help people, just bring more data. Cool. I think that's pretty much it. Is there any questions that you have for me, or that I should have asked to you guys?
No.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this, I guess. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Probably a patient story, if we can get someone on the podcast.
That'd be nice.
Thanks a million.